Welcome to the 6th Annual Soilcraft Conference. Join us as we listen to world-class speakers in the space of regenerative agriculture, as well as human health. We grow food. Food should nourish us, and often we find that our modern food is laden with unwanted synthetics or void of the minerals and vitamins we need to thrive. We endeavor to host this conference for your inspiration and education. Our calling is to help you produce food that heals people and our planet. Join us in this journey to become better stewards of our bodies and the world we abide in.
It's the past. So if we make it anaerobic, it goes anaerobes. Woohoo! And we make it ideal, it goes, I know who I am. We have to focus on the conditions. Because all this artificial intelligence stuff, unless it's really, really focused, is not useful. It's actually an illusion. It's flat. There's no discernment in AI. It's flat. So that's why they'll value erroneous information equally with important information. We need to embrace natural intelligence and see what creation has to teach us. So this is how the plant-relative fungi evolved. I'm not going to go into all fungi. There's plenty of phyla and craziness out there. But we're going to stick to these. So mycorrhizal, saprophytic, and endophytes. Notice how saprophytes and endophytes, they share phyla at the bottom, Basidiomycota and Ascomycota. Mycorrhizal fungi is Glomeromycota only. Only. So, and I won't get into the characterization today. So you're not going to find AMF in your compost. There's a spore. Oh, there it goes. Goodbye, spore. Eaten. So they get consumed. Spores get eaten. That's how it's biocontrol. We're doing all this soil food web stuff as biocontrol. And so plants plus mycorrhizal fungi, they work together. This is from my book. There's so many usages. Mycorrhizal fungi is part of the plant. They evolve together, so it would be reasonable to assume that every aspect of the plant is affected. And this is pretty phenomenal if you read this all. I mean, it lowers soil salinity in high temperature. It's a buffer, so it lowers it for the plant. It's a heavy metal and toxin remediator, protein biosynthesis cofactor. That's the whole thing where it does nitrogen before it does phosphate. It's an energy reserve. They literally give themselves up, and we're about to see that. So they're symbiotic. This is AMF in action right there at the bottom, not the top necessarily. So there could be establishment in the top, but it's not significant enough for us to make a solid call. It's when that's that lurid color that you really can know that there's phosphate there. AMF life cycle, let's learn it together. So the first thing it does is transport those phosphates to the space in between the cell wall and the cell membrane. That's why it makes a circle. That's why it encircles. And we can see it encircling. Very easy. That's the initiation. See it? Right? It's just outlining it in highlighter green. That's the initiation, okay? Now look for reddish brown. Reddish brown. Do you see it? That's its senesced. Do you see the hyphae extending off it that had the spore? That had a spore on it. Spore's already gone, and then look, that's why the stuff is green around it. This is the life cycle. That section right there can be reabsorbed. That reddish brown senesced fungal hyphae can be reabsorbed. This is also AMF. You can see there, that's the old, not the new. And so hypholysis, everyone's like, well, why would they give so much sugar and carbon to this fungi that's just taking it all? Because they can reabsorb that fungi when that fungi is senesced from the roots. And it's a lipid. Remember the John Kemp's pyramid of plant health? What's at the top? Lipids. Lipids. It's mycorrhizal fungi. Remember, what does he say is the key to the top of the pyramid? Robust microbiology, right? That's what he says, robust. I love him, by the way. John's a good friend. But when he said that and I was in his course, I was like, well, who is it? And that's one of the main reasons I wrote Regenerative Soil, because I wanted to know who these microbes are. And so they're an energy storage for the plant, or they're an investment for the next generation. They're an asset they can liquidate in their lifetime in case there's an emergency. That's what it is. It's a lipid that's in the root that literally reanimates next year when there's new roots there from their seeds. This is how life perpetuates. Life begets life, right? This is how it's done. So, can you see all the stages now? When it's pumping, it's all that lurid green. See the lurid green there? And you can't even see the outline anymore. So we can see initiation, we can see phosphorus accumulation, and we can see the senesced. So how to? AMF is not in your compost, right? And so you got to inoculate it. Most people are buying it. You could find it on your roots. This is why I say look. I mean, I'm not the guy that's like trying to sell people. I'm not an affiliate. I'm not trying to sell you this. And in fact, the microscope I've never taken a cut on. And I've sold a lot. I know he told me the number. It's pretty amazing. But I just like what works, and I like staying impartial. I was a high school English teacher. If you guys taught in public school, you know how important it is to remain impartial, to maintain trust. And so I like it. So Mycos is great, but there's a pattern here. And it has to do with roots. Mycomax, I met Brady, seems like a great guy. He gave me some product. Look at his roots. And then the size, right? This is Michael Amaranthus' original company, Mycorrhizal.com. This is the Mycomax folks. No, it's not the Mycomax. It's the, Mycorrhizal.com. They're the originals. What? That's what it is, MycoApply. You work for them? Or you use it? All right. Well, either way, I just want to point out that the people doing this right get huge results. And it's the size of the roots that determines so much of this. Oh, their roots are, 3 times to 10x, right? Of course they're going to get a correlative benefit in the amount of nutrients they can acquire. Their net on what they're capturing, all of it's bigger, So they're all seeing big results when they're doing it right, and it's all big roots. But it's mostly Rhizosphagus irregularis. That is the dominant arbuscular mycorrhizal fungi all over the world. With microbes, there are dominances. There's hierarchies, like you're going to have way more of one thing than another, and it's all going to go down, and it's going to be similar across the board. This is how you can make your own. This is also in that book out there. So you guys could be doing this, and then you could also be applying it just like for the first time you could buy it and then apply it to your seed on your cover crop, and it would be there forever. Especially if when you tilled, you immediately planted. And then when you did your cover crop at the end of the season, you crimped it. This would preserve this like really, really well. And if you know mushroom growing, you break up like the substrate and then feed it more substrate. So tilling you can till things to death, of course, but it's not going to like harm it by breaking up the hyphae. And that was like a myth that got passed around for a while. Luckily, Christine Jones has talked about that recently. So can other plants do this? Of course. So you can have native plants. You can find it on native roots. You could propagate it from there using this microscope to identify it, using that method to propagate it. You turn the actual growing medium itself into the inoculant, just like they do. That's what they're doing. So what can we expect? All those results. We're returning the plant to itself. These benefits are really like the benefits of a healthy plant, a complete plant. I mean, think about this, you guys. What would happen if we put you on antibiotics for 12 months? how good would your digestion feel? We've been doing that to plants for 100 years.
Has your soil been on a proverbial antibiotic trip? What are some of the first steps that you can take to move towards a regenerative system approach on your farm? At Soilcraft, we understand that every farm is unique. That's what we love about our jobs. We get stoked about finding tailored solutions for each and every cropping system and crop. We have many beneficial inoculum and soil products that promote beneficial microorganisms and a disease-suppressive soil, which is the best start for a healthy, resilient crop. Call, connect, follow.
And so we'll get into this more specifically. So this is just one, and we may talk about it tomorrow actually in more detail, but synthetic nitrogen destroys organic matter, which destroys the habitat for the life. Sulfur is too much. I mean, a little bit of sulfur can be just right, but too much literally can be like a fungi fumigant. You know what I mean? You can remove the fungi. So we have to be really aware of this. Phosphorus, if you add phosphates, it sends a signal to your plants that don't partner. You got enough. Don't partner with arbuscular mycorrhizal fungi. And so it goes a few seasons, and then there's no roots that have that, and then it's just the spores. And you saw what happens in a robust system. The spores get eaten, or if it's tilled a lot, or if it's oxidized, those things just get oxidized. So this is just one aspect of regenerative soil. It's really just one aspect of the biology. And so when we do all these things in harmony, we have pest, infection, virus, and disease immunity. And we see this in plants all the time. And we also see that part of this is the plants reacting to that and having the resources to react to it. It's like SSRI and stuff. Or no, SRI. SSRI, that's funny. So I was thinking methylene blue. So high nutrient density, we're able to measure these things, faster maturation, higher yields. Many people have documented this. If you've got really good soil, literally you're adapting the seeds, and the seeds literally are keyed to the next year to go faster. So I got that Peruvian corn we were just looking at with the nitrogen-fixing exudates on those aerial roots. I was able to move it up 30 days in 1 year. So we can do amazing things. So increased secondary metabolites and aromatics. Secondary metabolites are the things that the microbes make when everything else is going right. When everything else is taken care of, when all the basics are taken care of, that's where you have those plants that smell really good, taste really good. And that's all determined by microbes. So you can put in different microbes than him and have the same crop, and your crops will taste different. And there'll be different medicinal compounds if you are growing medicinal plants. So that's coming. We're going to be having that soon. So massive decrease in fertilizer inputs, less work over time, because the reality is healthy soil is what allows for healthy plants and what fosters and creates healthy animals and people. They're one eternal loop. It's actually the same microbes that are in our gut, that are in our soil, that are in the plants, endophytes. So what if farmers everywhere began to apply and maintain AMF regeneratively? They began planting immediately after tilling, and tilling only the top 6 inches to preserve and connect. I know Ray Archuleta's like, you don't need tilling. I love Ray. Ray's a good friend too. But I'm just saying, you might need to do this, depending on your soil, depending on your conditions. And you might be just strip tilling. It all might be all crimped down and beautiful. But still, this is the time that you can be doing this. So they inoculate one time, not every year. Because it's regenerative. That's the only reason it still exists, is because it exists season to season. So this is a one-time investment that if you do right, stays. So that boost in yield, that boost in your buffering against salinity and heavy metal and everything else, that's going to stay. So wouldn't they need someone to verify the AMF is regenerative, to see it. That's what this lumen unit allows. So that's a little black section here. It's just this blue light. It's actually cobalt blue, and it's very, very specific. And what's great is it's in a frequency that's not going to hurt your eyes. That's why there's no shield. And it's not a mercury bulb, because the original ones in the universities and the ones everyone seems to want to buy, and I'm like, no, are mercury halide bulbs. So you can identify these things. Everyone can do this. It is not hard. You guys already learned the life cycle here today. So what if you learn all the microscopy methods? You confidently test and evaluate your soil and compost with a microscope from home. You consistently verify your methods are beneficial. You help others evaluate and understand the soil biofertilizers and compost. You're part of a community of citizen scientists focused on soil, water, fungi, and compost. I believe that you can do this. And by doing this, we can, together as a community of farmers and growers and ranchers, debunk a lot of the myths out there. There's so many myths out there. I mean, when I was coming up, it was like, anaerobes are bad. It's like, facultative anaerobes are endophytes. Because your plant, I mean, corn and sorghum and stuff has an air passage. They can bring in air inside them, but most plants aren't doing that. So, facultative. We're going to demystify. There's so much like extra stuff that is just like for show, it feels like, or to like convince people of like the need for like a priestcraft layer between the farmer and the soil tests. And we can explore, because the reality is most of the soil, do you guys know 0.01% of the nematodes have been identified? Nematodes, in other words, roundworms, yes, they're parasites. They are the most ubiquitous animal on Earth, and yes, they're considered animals. They're part of Animalia. And so we don't know very much. And the crazy thing is, part of that is because those dang things keep changing, because they absorb information from around them, DNA, but then nematodes will also change their mouth parts on you. So they have dimorphic mouth parts. You can Google that, dimorphic mouth parts, nematodes. So we're in the process of exploration. We should not be in the process of hardline dogma, which I kind of was baptized in 10 years ago. Elaine Ingham's like, no, aerobic, right? And it's like, no. So we have to explore. We're in a place where we need to explore, and we need to be the ones doing it. So we're not passing it off to some expert or guru or something. We're literally seeing it for ourselves, because the roots are that obvious. And tomorrow we're going to see a lot more things that are obvious. And we're going to make discoveries. It was epic when I found pinworms, depending on their diet, have autofluorescent hairs. And I've never seen that documented before. It's never been published on any before. But I didn't know how common it is. It's all common in the things I see. Here I am in Texas, getting samples from all over. And so I'm like, I think it seems plausible. Never said it definitively. And then I have students showcasing it until someone recently found a pinworm without glowing hairs. That's the point. We got to let these things actually play out. That's the only honest way to do this. And it's the only way that actually benefits ourselves and each other and our kids. It's the only way, by being transparent and allowing for these things to happen. So start that home lab. Do the testing as much as possible yourself, so you have ownership and you're not passing it through someone else. It could be a community lab. And it's about protecting our community and unlocking the highest levels of health. So I thank you for being here. I'm Matt Powers. Grow abundantly, learn daily, and live regeneratively. Thank you guys for being here. Turn to the slide. You can learn more there. So, do I have time? I went fast enough. That's good. That's good. So it's a lot of information. I don't know if you guys know how I do things. I'm pretty much calibrated. I was a public school teacher. I created my own curriculum, so I'm pretty calibrated to like 184 days. So my courses are like sometimes 200 plus hours. I learned to like dial it back because the internet has no idea what to do with that. My APSO course is that, just to warn you. And my Regenerative Soil course is much more reasonable, but I teach in 20-week cycles. And so it's like pretty hard for me to like bring it on down to like a short period of time. I'm glad that we were able to do it. But this space allows us to do that too. It is knowable, it is understandable, and there's aspects that are like kind of like navel-gazing, unknowable, and people claim that they know in those areas. But I'm telling you, do the testing yourself. Figure out how they're testing it and their metrics and all this, and because some of it's just not even useful. Because the thing is, it's not useful unless it links to an actual action. If it doesn't link to an action or a verification, then what is it going to do? It's just like meaningless. So we have to be able to act. All right, so I have a student, amazing Zach Gross, that grew out seeds that were inoculated. I gave him some tips and things to do. I'm excited to see what we have here. I'm just gonna pull one of these up.
We're so glad you enjoyed this installment from our in-person conference. We want this to reach as many people as possible, so we've decided to release this free to you bit by bit every month. But imagine how awesome it would be in person. The networking, questions, and discussions that result are equally as valuable. Join us next year in person for our 2026 conference. Your presence makes the experience. If you have any questions or needs, please reach out. Call, email, follow. We can help.